5-gallon paint from $6,599. Gypsum board $1,749. 15% off UPVC French windows. 10% off kitchen sinks, water tanks, and pumps. 195 Hackleburg Road. Telephone 923-4560. New budget supplies. Always the best prices.
Backyard Magazine presents the Music Feel Reggae Show on Roots FM with Music Feel, DJ Sogi and SK. Every Wednesday, 5 p.m. till 6:30 p.m. This is the complete show. You get music updates, artist interviews, and reviews. The Music Feel Reggae Show is brought to you by the legendary Backyard Magazine. Know your roots.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
I'm Adrian.
Join us this and every Wednesday morning for Extraordinary Abilities on Roots 96.1 FM. Join us for news, views, and interviews with extraordinary people. Extraordinary Abilities every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on your extraordinary radio station, Roots 96.1 FM. It's gonna be fun, informative, and educational, but most of all, it will be extraordinary.
All right, I'm ready.
Good morning. We're listening and watching from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean. This is Make We Talk on Roots 96.1 FM, the voice of the inner city, the voice of the voiceless Jamaicans. I must say thanks to my new engineer this morning, Miss Carol Taylor, who is engineering this morning to let us come on. We are in crisis in this country. We're facing some, as what Michael Manley used to say, fundamental problem in this country. Jamaica is at a crossroad. And when I said this country is knocking behind Haiti's back door, people said, Jeffrey, you must stop say it. But I will forever say it. Because what is going on in Jamaica is only Almighty God knows. Only God in heaven knows. CPFSA, man doing one doing gone. Usain Bolt sources said that Usain Bolt opened the account in 2012 and never made a withdrawal. He said to have, hold on, I carry back this thing again. Usain Bolt opened the account in 2012 and have not made a withdrawal. He said to have invested under 10 million United States dollars. And there's only 2,000 left in the man account. 10,000 US dollars is equivalent of 1.5 billion Jamaican dollars. And not a word from the Minister of Finance, nor the Prime Minister. Not a word from nobody. The man money that's gone like Sammy Mouth. Help! Thief! Thief! This country gone. But like I behave myself this morning, my special guest this morning, former mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, Dr. Angela Brown Burke, Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Andrew, Opposition Spokesperson on Education and Social Security. Good morning, Dr. Brown Burke.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. Given the circumstances, we're having a little chilly weather, which is probably a good thing to cool us down a little bit with all that's happening.
I am telling you, there's a cold front out, a very cold one. Yes, indeed. I have with me my co-host, Wilfred Rattigan. We're going to dig deep in what is going on at the SSL and the CP, whatever I name.
CPFSA.
Too much bang around the going in this country, Mrs. Brownberg.
Yes. No, these are serious, serious issues, and you're absolutely correct. Now we need to have the full ventilation of the issues. We need to talk about it, and at the end of the day, some people need to be held responsible.
Somebody think go to prison.
Yeah, some people need to be held. I agree with you. I agree. Too much slackness are gone. I agree.
Make it feel understand, Mrs. Brownberg, that the man who is in charge of the SSL is a former managing director of the collapsed Crown Eagle Bank. How they give him license? Start, hello, this is another Ponzi scheme, you know.
Wow.
Anyway, make I be myself this morning. Rebel, good morning to you. Former FBI agent, attorney, law and talk show host, Wilfred Rattigan, the man from Waterhouse. The man know how to name dirty girl and dumpling.
Be careful. Whoa.
Jamaicans know what that means.
I mean, tin mackerel. Tin mackerel, I mean.
Yeah, I welcome the explanation. Welcome the explanation. Dr. Burke, good morning to you. Always a pleasure seeing you.
Good morning, Mr. Rattigan.
Mr. Rattigan, you're breaking up though. There's something going on. Then I want to talk this morning. You're breaking up, Mr. Rattigan.
I'm not speaking.
Yeah, well,
yes. We hear a little. Yeah.
Whenever you speak, I hear you breaking up. So I don't know what's going on. Anyway, let us start with Dr. Brownberg. Let us start out what is going on with Mr. Rattigan. But let's start with Dr. Brownberg. Dr. Brownberg, what is going on down by the CPFSA?
Well, the first thing is that we have an agency called the Office of the Child Advocate. And I believe that we have to really give kudos to the Child Advocate and the office for insisting and pushing for this investigation. You would recall that there was actually some resistance to her actually doing the investigation because there was a claim that children were not involved. Thankfully, they did their research and they pushed and they were able to get there. But the report is really a damning report. It is a report that says very, very clearly that at the highest level of those who have been placed in authority to protect our children, we have literally failed them. We have exposed them to individuals who really could harm them. That is really what it has said. And the most heart-rending thing is that from as long as 2018, the agency would have been aware of what was happening in terms of this gentleman, and they did nothing to protect our children. And I believe that, listen, it cannot just go so. I said to the minister when the minister came to Parliament and made a statement, which was a good statement, saying that she had nothing to do with it, that when she was aware, she did what she could. And
hold on, Mrs. Brownberg. Try to remember your point. The minister can't say she don't know about it, she has nothing to do with it. This thing has been going on from 2021, March of 2021. What kind of bangarang going on in this country where the Minister of Education is telling the people of this country that she don't know what's going on?
No, well, in fairness, I don't know if you heard what she said. What she said and what the report from the OCA also says is that the head of the CPFSA actually lied to the ministers, and therefore the ministers would have given the public of Jamaica incorrect information. One of the problems I had with the statement that she made is good to say, listen, my hands are clean. I did what I could do with the knowledge I had. I did not think that her statement went far enough to accept the responsibility of the ministry in terms of ensuring now that this is the head of the CPFSA and one institution. But the CPFSA is responsible for several other institutions. If, as it says, the actions of the head of the agency is one that you have to begin now to question, either in terms of her ability or whether or not it was willfulness, then it means that it requires more from the minister. What exactly is going to happen in terms of investigation, in terms of looking at the other institutions and in terms of systems, because that's really, if the systems are in place, how then could the systems fail in that kind of a way? And is this the only institution where it has failed? And I think that for me is really the biggest issue.
But Dr. Brownberg, also, why didn't they, if this man, Mr. Robansky, or whatever his name is, coming in the country, and why didn't they do some background check? Why didn't they approach the American embassy or the ambassador and say, listen to me, Mr. Robanks is coming in from whatever house the place name. Can you give me a background check on this man? Or Google the man name?
Well, what we are told is that the relationship with the CPFSA and certainly the organization that preceded it and Mr. Robansky was before the 2018 report, or before that. But you are correct, because in 2018, when all of that came to light publicly, what is clear from the reports that we are getting is that the CPFSA was aware of the activities of the individual and also the sanctions against him by the US authorities. Now, what is strange and unfathomable is that the head of the CPFSA then said that they did nothing because the actions of the individual did not give rise to were not criminal activities. And I think that and the OCA did point that out, that is troubling. And it is troubling because the responsibility of the CPFSA goes beyond simply the fact that the individual has committed criminal activities. The responsibility calls for, if there's even a suspicion, if there are even activities that are suspect, that something must be done to protect these children. And what is clear is that that was not done. In fact, I think that the OCA said that the individual, that is Mrs. Gagegray, seemed not to have understood her full responsibility in terms of protecting the children at that point.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back to Mr. Wilfred Rattigan. Mr. Rattigan, good morning. Welcome back to Make We Talk, sir.
Good morning, Defender.
No, we're hearing you. No, the whole of Waterhouse can't hear you. No. Good morning, Waterhouse. Good morning, Riemann Jungle. Good morning, Tibale. According to Renita Adams, good morning. We're here this morning.
Good morning, 3 Miles, Mainland, Whitfield. Don't forget my people.
Yes, hey, Pienland, guess what happened this morning? The beautiful Member of Parliament, Dr. Angela Brown Burke. Pienland, what did the place name again? Call the place MP.
No, Greenwich Town, 3 miles. Yes.
Yes.
Town. Yes.
Mahoe Drive, good morning.
Majestic Gardens, Cockburn Pen.
Yes, indeed. We're talking about the things this morning. Mr. Rattigan, your take on what is going on in Jamaica when it comes on to the CPSA?
Well, I blame everybody. Defender. I blame OCA. I blame the Minister of Education. I blame the Prime Minister. I blame every and anybody who had anything to do with this, because you know why? There was a severe breakdown in the reporting structure and how the investigation was conducted. OCA, they have a responsibility, and it's laid out in the Child Care and Protection Act, what they're required to do. The same act lays out the roles and responsibility of the minister when it comes to protecting children. As we all know, they comprise one of the most vulnerable communities in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not looking out for them, then who will? Now, UNICEF is also involved in this, not as a blameworthy party, but UNICEF is involved because they provide technical assistance and financial assistance to help and I have it right here. The UNICEF provides both technical expertise and financial support under an agreement they have with Jamaica, which is it is extended every 5 years. And it has to do with children and their families. So a lot of parties involved. But let me start from the beginning. Let me not start from the middle. Let me start from the beginning. This gentleman, Mr. Rabansky, and his organization, embracing orphans, right?
Orphans.
They came to Jamaica. Correct me if I'm wrong. Around 2011 or something thereabouts.
Yes, 2011.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing that should have happened when they arrived in Jamaica, someone should have gone over to the U.S. Embassy, asked to speak with the consular section, and asked them if Mr. Rabansky was registered with the consular section. Next question, is his organization, Embracing Orphans, is that company registered? No, they're not required, based on my understanding of how the American businessmen operate in host country nations, but it's highly suggested that they register. So those two questions should have been asked. The third question should have been asked is, can you give us a background on him? Can you tell us what's going on? Which they'll gladly do, right? So that wasn't done. Then we go to 2014, where his license was suspended for allegedly abusing a child or children. What should have taken place is that there should have been ongoing vetting of these people. So whether it's every 2 years or so on and so forth, because this would have been discovered back in 2014, 2015, 2016. It would have discovered that there is a history of him being charged in the courts and his license suspended. And that should have sent up red flags. No, I want to read you something here from the Miss Gage Gray. Is that her name?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. She said, let me just find my documents here. Hold on. Can't find, but she said that she knew about the allegation. She knew about the incident with him, right? But that it didn't rise to certain levels to cause concern. No, what kind of nonsense is that? What kind of nonsense is that? You get information that somebody who is among the most vulnerable community in Jamaica, that they're involved in activities maybe criminal in nature. And then you turn around and you say, well, it didn't rise to a certain level, so that's why I kept, we kept the relationship going with him. That's a red flag right there. Here's another red flag. Well, I'm looking for that document.
Red flag would have been pretty late, though. That's part of the problem.
What was that?
I said by 2018, it is clear that the CPFSA was aware of those allegations. The statement that you're making was her reason for doing nothing, which is part of what is alarming.
Right.
And also, reliable information reaching me that the woman refused to step down. She said the media make her blow up everything, and she don't do nothing wrong.
No, but before we get there, part of how the OCA was able to complete its report, its investigation rather, was to ask that the individuals running the father's house be sent elsewhere with new persons in charge, because they recognized that individuals, the house mother and so on, were interfering into the investigation. And part of what was said was that on the advice stroke instruction of the head of the agency. So I mean, we're not even at whether or not it has been blown up. The truth is that there has been interference or attempts to interfere from her in the original investigation. And therefore, if the minister can't do it by law, certainly the HR commission, whatever services commission, whichever authority needs, she should be able, should think that out of good governance and just that kind of stuff, she should step aside and allow the investigation to take place. Now, if her decency and sense of duty does not lead her to do that, then the relevant authority should send her on leave or whatever until all of this is over.
Here's one of the things she said. She said she was interviewed under the, I think this had to do with her connection to UNICEF. This is a while back. She said, as parents, guardians, we have a duty and responsibility to protect our children. Let us work together to keep them safe and protect them from a lifetime of trauma. We cannot turn a blind eye. Pay attention to how children react around persons and build a solid relationship so that children will feel comfortable talking to you. Every child deserves protection. This is what she said.
Absolutely.
But she did turn a blind eye. She did turn a blind eye. No, here is my contention with OCA. When OCA found out about this, the question is, what did they do, right? We're told that they started an investigation. Right. And you're going to tell me now that the investigation started somewhere around, I don't know, 2021 or whenever, and they said that they were obstructed in getting to certain facts and whatnot. Well, guess what? There is such a thing called the Child Care and Protection Act, right? And that act says, and you're right, Dr. Brown-Burke, in your assessment, that you don't need overwhelming proof of the negative act. Because here's what it says in section 11. It says that you can go to a justice of the peace, anyone, if you have reason to believe that that a child has been or is being assaulted, ill-treated, or neglected in a manner likely to cause that child unnecessary suffering. And it says that all you have to do is show that there's a reasonable cause to suspect that the activity is taking place, which is a far cry from saying that you need evidence, right? Or evidence beyond a reasonable doubt, right? This is just saying if you suspect, and there are plenty of reasons there at that time to say, yeah, we suspect that this is going on. Nobody did anything, right? Then it also says, the same act, it says that once you go to the JP, he can instruct a constable, he can issue a warrant and have this constable arrest that person. And it says that they can keep the person in custody if they believe that the person will abscond. No, this man is not a Jamaican. This man lives in America. And then the other thing is, what stop measures did they put at the airport to ensure that he didn't leave? Even if they wanted to release him in the community, leave him in the arrest him and leave him in the community or detain him. What stop measures did you put at the airport to make sure that this man didn't leave? No, here's what we're left with. Now they're going to have to go to the US Embassy and they're going to have to speak to the ambassador and the various agencies, including the FBI. And they're going to have to issue something called a letter rogatory, which is, well, first of all, they're going to have to bring charges. Then once they bring the charges, they go to the embassy, they say, here are the charges. Then they have to issue a letter rogatory to this man, to the Office of International Affairs under DOJ. They're going to have to find this man and they're going to have to serve him with it to let him know that there is a pending criminal action against him in Jamaica. Then Jamaica has to start the formal process now of getting him extradited. He was there in Jamaica. How they make him get away? And not only that, this is not even a guess and spell or needed an amendment to the act. The act clearly provided for that kind of action that I just laid out. So
I'm not taking up for anybody, but I want to say this. One of the things, and I was trying to find it in the document, I couldn't find it just now. But I know part of what OCA said is that in the beginning, there was a challenge to their authority because you did quote the Child Care Act. And what the head of the agency was saying is that that particular institution did not have children there by the definition. Because remember, it is supposed to have been a transitional home. That I gather would have taken some time to be clarified. Because again, remember that in the report and from the minister, there's an accusation that the head of the agency actually provided false information. The first one was that there were no children there. And therefore, I'm saying possibly that act would not apply, because you know that when persons want to obstruct and so on, they become very technical to say the act relates to children between these ages. And if the head of the agency was saying that children at that age was not there, then you had to prove it. It turns out that that too was a lie. And that indeed they had been placing their claim for emergency, but we are being told that in the beginning it really was not for emergency. It was really on a regular basis. Children that would then come under the Child Care Act, but the head insisted that that was not so.
And also, Mrs. Brownberg, it is in a media report that you gave to a prominent radio station in this country, that you're calling for the Jamaican sex offender register to be made public. Hold a minute. Listen to this for me.
Yes.
Listen to this for me.
Yes.
Well, the first thing is that I do believe in making it public. I'm not talking about a private registry. I'm talking about a public registry so that persons are aware of who they have around them. And so that even individuals, knowing that it is going to the public, will make sure, for example, that certain things that people take for granted in other jurisdictions about how far away they stay from institutions with children, their activities with children or vulnerable groups, that is adhered to.
So why is it, Mrs. Brownberg, that all what is going on in this country, I'm going to get back to Mr. Rattigan, that this is not public?
But because, I believe that many Jamaicans are of two minds. Some support a public registry. I do, but not everyone does. And people will tell you that given the propensity for vigilante justice in Jamaica, that it is a dangerous thing. I support it. I believe also in supporting it, that we need to do the requisite public education about when individuals have concerns, who did they report to, how are those things dealt with, how they follow the progress of what they would want to see, and all of that, because I believe it goes hand in hand. I believe that informed public is our best weapon to rid ourselves of some of these ills of society, and that is the basis on which I agree with it.
Mr. Rattigan?
Okay. OCA said that the home told them that there are no children there and therefore they have no jurisdiction and they couldn't come in. Well, it says here in same Child Care and Protection Act, it says in section 52 that a licensee shall notify the minister in writing of the name, sex, age, and date of reception of every child who is received into his home. So there should have been a record stating the age, sex, name, and the date of reception of every child in that home. Furthermore, it says that if at all reasonable times, any person authorized by the minister and office of the JCF may visit and inspect any home for the purpose of verifying that the home is licensed, ensuring that the home is properly administered, and that the children therein are receive adequate care and protection. And if they refuse, then what do? They get a warrant from the Justice of the Peace, and they can go in. That not take 2 years.
It should not, and I'm in total agreement with you. It should not. And you are right in the sense that if the agency is saying that there are no children here, I find it unfathomable that the ministry that has responsibility could not intervene to verify that the age of the children that, well, first of all, one is the age of the persons who are there, so that if there are children, the OCA could act. But I want to say this as well, regardless of the age of the individuals who were there, the young ladies who were there, the circumstances would still have warranted some kind of investigation, because even if they were not children, they are vulnerable. The state has a responsibility, and what was obvious is that the state was failing at that responsibility.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. Because when you go through this act,
hold on to Mr. Rattigan. I think it is 11:30. It's 11:30 or 11:31. We're watching and listening from around the world and the Eastern Caribbean. We're speaking to Dr. Angela Brown Burke, Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Andrew. We're speaking about what is going on in state care, the CPFSA. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. I am Jeffrey Tavares with my co-host, Wilfred Rattigan. We'll be right back on Roots 96.1 FM.
Hello. Mommy, is who I ticket?
Hush, child. Me no want them see we.
But mommy, is the census takers?
Me not tell them my business.
But mommy, they need information about all the households to help make decisions about where to put things like clinics, stores, and new roads.
So?
Come, mommy. You count, me count, all our count.
Data collection for the census continues. Soon, a census taker will be coming to you. Look out for them and let them know you count.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
I'm Adrian.
Join us this and every Wednesday morning for Extraordinary Abilities on Roots 96.1 FM. Join us for news, views, and interviews with extraordinary people. Extraordinary Abilities every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on your extraordinary radio station, Roots 96.1 FM. It's gonna be fun, informative, and educational, but most of all, it will be extraordinary.
Backyard Magazine presents the Music Feel Reggae Show on Roots FM with Music Feel, DJ Stogie and SK. Every Wednesday, 5 p.m. till 6:30 p.m. This is the complete show where you get music updates, artist interviews, and reviews. The Music Feel Reggae Show is brought to you by the legendary Backyard Magazine. Know your roots.
Welcome back to Make We Talk here on Roots 96.1 FM. Welcome back to Roots 96.1 FM on the Make We Talk program. We're speaking to Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Andrew, opposition spokesperson on education, and also
on labor and social security, not education.
Oh, labor and social security. Sorry, what
That's
am I
correct.
keep on
That's
saying?
correct. Because I used to be at education. That's okay.
Oh boy, our good friend, as what they dubbed him, Marky G. Comrade leader can really reshuffle his cabinet good. Dr. Brownberg.
Yes.
Based on what is going on in the whole thing. Oh, by the way, sorry, Mr. Rattigan, you were saying something before we cut off. Go ahead, sir. I do apologize about it.
Yeah, I'm saying that where is the notification? It's called the notification of reception of child, section 52, where the ministry would have had knowledge of every single child going into these homes. So OCA didn't have to go in and try and verify ages, because if they're following the letter and the spirit of the law, that there should have been a database where all of this is entered into, so that they quick check, easy check, fast check, right? And so the question at first I ask us is, where is this database? Where is this notification of children for these homes? How is it being done? The law says it must be done. It says a licensee shall notify the minister in writing. It doesn't say may, or if you feel like. So you shall, right? And that wasn't done. There's another person in this saga that we haven't touched on yet. And I've invited him to come on my program I invited him when the story broke. I've invited him 4 times over the past 4 months to come on the program. I've also invited him to come on your program, Defender. And he has not responded.
Who are you talking to? You mean I dubbed him as the Minister of Misinformation?
What's his name, sir?
Robert Morgan.
That's the person.
Well, I dubbed him as the Minister of Misinformation. This is my
I don't know about I don't know about him being a misinformation, but what I do know is that he's been very absent in this thing. And here's why I'm kind of focusing on him. At one point, when all of this was going on, when some of this was going on, he was the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education with a responsibility for what? Or for whom? Youth. This is his responsibility.
Yes.
And I know that, people have made the argument that, well, it wasn't really streamlined what them call them, CFSA and OCA, that it wasn't streamlined and there was no real oversight. Well, guess what? Just because there was no oversight, it doesn't mean that there shouldn't have been oversight. There should have been oversight. So I'm not giving them a pass because, like defenders, I use the FBI mantra on management. If you're put in charge of a team and there's an issue, there are only two questions they'd ask you and they'd ask me. They said, did you know about it? And if the answer is no, they said, well, shouldn't you have known about it?
Right.
Because you're in charge. You cannot pass the buck on to somebody else. You have to take responsibility. You have to get up and say, look, you know what? I'm responsible. And in Jamaica, that's woefully lacking. What we have managers, and some of them are performing very, very poorly. Now, here's what he said, and this was back in 2021, June 2021. He said he had a meeting, a town hall meeting through the Jamaican ambassador to the US. She has a program called Let's Connect, and he addressed the diaspora, and he said, we're also working with the Child Care and Protection Family Service Agency to intervene in communities and some families where we feel that the disconnection has caused psychosocial challenges. So he's talking about his relationship with CPFSA, right? Then he went on to do something that was quite startling. In November 2020, he called for an investigation into two incidents. One where a child was mauled by a dog, right? He said, I want these investigations expedited. And another one where they found a child dead in a pump house in Clarendon. And he said also the ministry is focused on passing key pieces of legislation to better protect children. These include reforms to the Child Care and Protection Act and the Adoption Act, as well as administrative changes to improve how the ministry responds to matters that affect the well-being of children. Well, where the hell was this when he got the information? Where was this when he got the information? He's calling. He can call for an investigation of a dog mauling a child, and that there should be an investigation into that. He's calling for the investigation of a child found dead in a pump house. He should, but where was he when he got the information that this gentleman was molesting these children? And God knows how many children this man molested. We don't even know the extent of the damage that he's caused already. Where was he when he should have said, "Hey, you know what? Let's bring this before the courts. Let's bring the police in. Let's bring this before the courts, and let's make sure that with immigration, he doesn't leave the country." Where was he with all of this? Absent. And if you notice, last week when the minister stood up and gave her speech in Parliament, and by the way, Dr. Burke, I applaud you for taking her. I paid close attention to the question that you asked. I think it was one or two questions. But where was it? And that performance was a pass the buck performance by the minister. What's not the hands? Pontius Pilate. It was like, oh, I got this in March, and this is what I immediately called for this, and then I had regular meetings. That's not enough. That's not enough.
It's not. And you're right. That's the point I was making to her, that it was not enough. For example, a simple matter, which was the one of making sure that embracing orphans was separated from the father's house and that somebody else took it over. She found out that although she had given instructions, it wasn't done. She insisted that they needed to do due diligence on the new entity that was to take over the father's house. It now is realized that the entity, which is what the Jamaica Relief Ministries, is an organization with which Robansky also is closely tied. It's closely tied, He has a very good relationship with the individual who runs the Jamaica Relief Ministries. And what it meant was that even when it was transferred to the JRM, he still had access. In fact, what the report actually says is that there are 3 entities which was the Blossom Gardens Children's Home, as well as the Jamaica Relief Ministries and West Haven Children's Home, where Robansky had a relationship as well. We aren't talking even about those. Nobody's asking the question about what's happening in those. In one of them, I think the kids there, both male and female, 0 to 7 years old. What does that mean in terms of the protection of those children or even understanding what happened there? Because he was operating in the same way.
So that means, Dr. Brownberg, that this country is a failed state.
You know, in that regard, you will be absolutely on target. In fact, what it means is that we have allowed this man to be like a child in a candy store, like a pig in mud, by just opening up these organizations and our children to him, where he could take them out, give them gifts. They knew that he was their benefactor, and he was just totally inappropriate. I mean, the thing is just crazy.
So how on earth can you have a state entity to take care of your children who was molested, whether in their home or on the road or whatever, and put them back through the same trauma? And the Minister of Education, along with the former junior minister, who is now the Minister of Misinformation, who want Bex this morning, Bex, yes. Robert Morgan, I'm calling you. You need to resign.
Can I tell you what is Can I tell you what is so heartrending about the whole thing? The head of the CPFSA had a kind of naivety that cannot be believed in terms of how she approached the activities, the investigation, and the actions that she should have taken. And then the minister also comes with the same level of naivety in terms of what to do. So when I said, did you make sure that due diligence, you know, that the report was done? She said the entity has the responsibility. So I can't have an entity that has a responsibility and go behind them to do their work for them. No, you don't. However, when you see that they have been failing or they have failed at what they should be doing, then you have to behave differently, because you have to get proof now that what you now know that she lied to you. So it is important for you to make sure that everything that is asked of her, that there is proof that it is done, because it is our children, as you said, those who have suffered trauma themselves, have been abandoned, have been neglected, have been abused mentally, physically, sexually, all of that. These are the young ladies, in this case, that we're talking about. And in the broader sense, certainly in terms of the other three entities, these are the kind of individuals, young boys, young girls that we're talking about that need the protection of the state and of individuals. When I asked the minister about the training, for example, because her statement said, you know, we would have expected them to understand. We can't expect. We must know by virtue of the training programs that we do for the professional advancement, right? That they have the necessary tools, because having a social work degree doesn't mean that you are seized as you should be with the issues as it relates to children in state care, because that is a specialized area. And if the ministry has to make sure that individuals have these kind of professional development units or courses or sessions that they do from time to time to make sure that they are able to protect our children. It is too great an area. It is too much of a chance to take in terms of protecting our children in that sense.
Dr. Brownberg, was brought to my attention sources in the American embassy is saying that the minister may be meeting with the ambassador at the moment. Is it that they're trying to find out where this man Robansky is?
Well, they need to find out where he is. But I want to say that while we're doing that, there are some other things we need to do for individuals who are certainly in our jurisdiction. And it is the house mother and those who were at the father's house, who allowed these things to happen.
Because then licky and nyami member.
They can't go scot. Everybody who exposed those young ladies to this threat, allowed the kind of abuse that we saw through the emails and the letters and what they have said, right? And what WhatsApp messages and what they have said that took place whether it was that they went to the beach or to wherever, they too must be held responsible. How is it that you could allow young ladies at this age to be outside watching TV with him, with the lights off? A vulnerable group of young ladies. How? Are you saying that nobody would have said anything to any of those persons in charge of the home and running it? Because if the girls did not, it also says something about what they think and how they see these individuals who are supposed to be in charge. Because generally speaking, those persons who are in charge should gain the confidence of these young ladies to be able to talk about some things so that you are able to deal with that. Where was that? But also the fact that the head of the CPFSA could call them and tell them to tell the girls not to cooperate, and that they did, is also a really, really big issue.
So that means, Mrs. Angela Brown Burke, I'm going to go to my good friend Wilfred Rattigan, the rebel who speak out for the voices Jamaican like myself. I am the poor people defender. And what's going on in this country, on a thief, Usain Bolt money, bring it back.
Yes,
bring back Usain Bolt money. Because the fact of the matter, this young man has served this country, made this country proud. And good God Almighty, no thief money. Go ahead, my good friend.
All right, defender. There's another person that we need to talk about. We talked about the junior minister. We talked about the minister. We talked about OCA. We talked about the Miss Gage Gray. The person I'd like to focus a little bit of my attention on is the Prime Minister. And here is why.
Not a word from him.
From 1994 to 1996, he served as the executive director at the voluntary organization for uplifting whom? Children. Right? 1994 to 96. Then he became prime minister. Right? He became prime minister, I think it was 2011. Not prime minister, minister of education.
Education.
Right. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he did, and it's documented, it's to use the word of Minister Williams, chronicled. It's chronicled in the Office of the Children's Advocate annual report for 2007 and 2008 that one of the things that Minister Andrew Holness did was to abolish corporal punishment in schools. Because why? They said this is one perpetuation of violent behavior against children. So when Robansky molest and have inappropriate behavior with the children, isn't that a perpetuation of violence as well? And what have we heard from the Prime Minister? Because he's listened to all of this, he hasn't said a word. He's quick to throw his support behind some of these ministers, but when they have done wrong, when they're underperforming, right, we hear nothing from him. Because you know why? I think he's banking on the journalistic death of stories, which is in Jamaica is about 4 days, 5 days, and that it will go away and replaced by another story. But this is one that we shouldn't let go.
Hold on for me, Mrs. Brown Burke. Before you answer that question, please remember, I'm gonna ask you, can you go over 2 minutes after 12 for me?
Okay, let me
please.
See.
Yes, and also, I have been asked to. Something was sent to me. Remember what Mr. Rattigan said, but someone sent to me that they want you to respond for the 12:30 headline news and roots. Did you know that when the budget supply store in Hagley Park Road was on fire, they have some fire hydrants there that are trophies given to the road by the National Water Commission. No water in them. So if the whole Hagley Park Road, they burn along a 3 mile, no water. No, Mrs. Brown Burke, what on earth is going on? You're telling me it's over 3 years now. Over 3 years now. Hagley Park Road has been finished, 3 mile finished, and over that 3 years, not one drip of water in it, yet NWC dig up back the road now to put in water. What is your views on that, man? As a member of parliament for that era, is it first you hear about this?
When it happened, I heard that there was no water in the hydrants. And I know that in many of our hydrants across the city, there's no water. But the truth of the matter is it's true. The truth of the matter is that for this area, as you know, Hagley Park Road has been recently totally refurbished, a whole new look and all of that. I would have thought in that area, certainly with the number of businesses there, with a new infrastructure that was put in, that was part of it. I'll be honest, I really thought so. Fire is really one of the worst things that could happen to anybody, a business or individuals, especially when they end up losing as much as they often do. And to know that part of it is a dereliction of duty of the state is really something that we have to look at. The fire hydrants would come under the fire brigade. And I think that it is something that we really have to look at now. Certainly the Minister of Local Government is a call to him to say, what are we doing there? It is also a call to the local authority, the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, in terms of what we need to do. And, you know, I was told by somebody at KCC that just over the holidays, they had how many fires burnt to the ground of individuals. I know that in my own case, I had probably about 11 families over the holidays who were totally burnt out. And part of it is because of how the fire brigade, when it comes and how late it comes and so on. I have been in discussion with the disaster committee in terms of training individuals on the ground, in terms of what to do to make sure that their response time, who they call, is easier. But the truth is all of what we do will be for naught if the other supporting things we need, like water in the hydrants that are there, if we don't get that right, all of the rest that we do will be for naught.
You know what? This is, you know, I have a laugh because, you know why? I'm listening to all of the deficiencies, you know, with how the ministries, the various ministries are taking their portfolios, you know, and they're not addressing the matter in a serious way. It reminds me of that Foreign Affairs building, headquarters down on Little Port Royal Street, built by the Chinese. You know, it was said that after it was built, that the Chinese never put in any sewer system to link up with the meaning, and that a certain minister had to go and beg money from the U.S. government to try and fix it. And I won't tell you the comment that the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Jamaica, I won't tell you the comment that he said, because this is a family program, so I'll just leave it at that.
No, and just a link up, because people might say, I mean, one ministry might say it was the NWA that was doing the work on Hagley Park Road, but the truth is that there is a linkage, and we're not in silos anymore, and so the water main and the hydrants is something that needs to be done. We have actually now on Spanish Town Road, Waltham Park Road, and that part, Hagley Park Road as well, made sure that we have done the government has done some work with the water main. And therefore, we would expect a link up, right, between the water and the fire hydrants in that area as well, which, I mean, is amazing to hear that there was none there. And especially when we had moved to actually fewer fire brigade houses open, yeah? And so when you have to come from very far to do that, it is really a problem. It's really a problem.
You know what, Defender? You just made a statement saying that you're hearing from, or you've heard from credible and reliable sources that the Minister of Education was or is on her way to the U.S. Embassy to meet with officials there, hopefully to discuss the matter concerning the Robansky and embracing orphans and his alleged activities in Jamaica with the young women. But that's something that should have been done a long time ago, and it's almost like it's a little late.
Yeah.
But and I'm hoping that her purpose, if it's true that she's there or she's going there, I'm hoping that her purpose is to go and try and figure out, okay, what do we do to bring this man to the bar of justice in Jamaica? Surprisingly, I didn't hear you mention it, but she should have gone with police officials as well, you know, and foreign ministry affairs officials. She can't look here's why I worry when I hear stories like this. And I'm hoping that she didn't go by herself, because she has demonstrated time and time again that she's inept, that she has no idea what she's doing. And like I've said time and time again, if people disbelieve what I'm saying and think that I have it in for her, please go and Google or go to YouTube and look at her performance at the town hall meeting. I think it was last year at Jamaica College. And you will see what I'm talking about. Almost every question that she was asked. First of all, her performance was terrible, her presentation. And almost every question she was asked, the Prime Minister had to rescue her, or an assistant had to jump in and help her. She doesn't have any presence. She doesn't exude leadership. She has no business being there. She came from the business community. Not to say that someone from the business community could not have excelled in that position, but she is not the exception. She's not the rule. She's nothing. She shouldn't have been there. She should have been somewhere doing business, pretty much like the ambassador, the Jamaican ambassador to the United States. And I say this without any reservation and without any apology. Useless. One word to describe her. Useless. She should go back and continue in her engagement with business. She's successful as a businesswoman, and I applaud her for that. But, you know, I heard a long time ago somebody tell me that, you know, if you're born for push hand card, then you can't drive car, right? The best you can do is steer the hand card. And that is what happens here. And we've heard it before, that if you take a clown and you put the clown in the headmaster's chair and tell him to him in charge, you don't have school, you have a circus. And that is exactly what's going on here. It's a comedy of errors. Circus.
Mr. Rattigan, I hope you'll also agree with me that in as much as we need to pursue getting to Robansky so that he could answer for his acts here, that there are some other people that we really need to be asking some questions of as well, in terms of their lack of duty of care. Yes? I agree with you. And I want to make sure that we're not just fixated on Robansky. He needs to be held to books and he needs to be brought to account. But the system's failure for me, are too many and they are too grave. We need to find out how they happen, why they happen, and we need to hold those who had the duty of care responsible for allowing this situation to take place, as well as looking at the other entities, the other children's homes, about what's happening there. First of all, the three that I mentioned that come readily to mind is because Robansky also was there too, you know, in terms of the OCA report. They named those three. You know, they spoke about the Jamaica Relief Ministries. And they said for years, their visitors log, yes, showed that Robansky went there for barbering, for example. Children, male and female, 0 to 7 years. For the Blossom Gardens Children's Home, that Robansky would visit the facility and take both staff and children on excursions, which was the same thing that he was doing with the father's house. For the West Haven Children's Home, which again accommodates both male and female children with special needs. According to the visitors log, Robansky visited in 2015 and 2017 and August 18, 2020 to donate bread, observe, and interact with residents. So having regard to what we have seen and heard of Robansky's activities overseas in the US jurisdiction, as well as at the father's house, we should also be concerned about the interaction in these three.
I agree with you. Robansky could not have done what allegedly he did without the oversight or the consent or the incompetence.
Or at least turning of a blind eye.
Incompetence of people in Jamaica, right? Absolutely. And then also, you know, I go back to the Minister Morgan's statement in 2020. He said that the ministry is focused on passing key pieces of legislation to better protect children. Where's that legislation? He also says these include reforms to the Child Care and Protection Act and the adoption, as well as administrative changes to do what? To improve how the ministry responds to matters that affect the well-being of children. Where is that legislation? This was said in 2020. Where is that?
Yes, we are now in 2023. I was also intrigued by when you looked at the Child Care Services and Protection Act, and so where in fact the OCA and others could have acted and did not. But I also wanted, just based on that as well, to look at what allowed for what allowed for this kind of failure that we're seeing, and how we could amend legislation to close whatever loopholes there may be at this point. What is clear is that, first of all, you have to use what you have. And if we are not using what we have, then adding more to that is not helping.
The sitting went down, so we're going to come at the end of the program, 12 o'clock, and Dr. Burke and Mr. Rattigan. All right, and so we come to the end of the program for today. Mr. Tavares' system just went dead.
Yeah, I saw that he had gone. Yes.
Yeah, so
okay. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be able to share in the conversation. Hoping that the minister, the prime minister, and all of those who are implicated will take responsibility. And if they don't, we have to make sure they know they're responsible and take it further.
And I hope that you put in try to get the restroom at 3 miles and the taxi stand.
With the restroom, okay. We'll look into that.
And the taxi stand at 3 miles.
And the taxi stand at 3 miles.
All right, all the best.
Okay.
Play it full, Dr. Roenberg, you play it full.
Full.
Thanks for being on the program and all the best.
All right.
Sorry, I am back.
Oh, you're back.
Yes, the whole system just went down. Must apologize to my viewers. We're going to continue the conversation here. We're going to say goodbye to Roots 96.1 FM on the Make We Talk program on Roots 96.1 FM. Thanks to Dr. Angela Brown Burke. I have lost internet system here a while ago. We do apologize about that. Take it away, my good friend Dudley Thompson at Roots 96.1 FM. This is where we say so long. Until next week when you hear your voice again.
All right. Thanks, Jeffrey Tavares. You're back.
Yes, Mr. Rattigan. Thank you for holding down this fort for me. Bye. As a good friend and a good co-host. We're going to continue the discussion, though, on the whole thing. I am so sorry, because I wanted to ask Dr. Brown Burke what is her views on what is going on with Usain Bolt. What is, what she thinks should happen. But like I have you here, Mr. Rattigan, as a former FBI agent, tell me, what do you think should be done?
Well, before we get to the Usain Bolt story, which is in the realm of athletics, there's another story that's been going on for years, I think about 13, 14 years, that should be highlighted. There's an athlete by the name of Beverly McDonald. She competed for Jamaica in the 200 meters finals in the 2000 Olympics held in Australia. And she placed 4th in that event. About 9 years later, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, they disqualified the winner of that race, Marion Jones from the United States, for drug use. So by virtue of that, Beverly McDonald was elevated to 3rd place, earning a bronze medal. That medal was sent to Jamaica sometime around 2009. Keep in mind now, the Olympics, which, that she competed in, 2000. 9 years later, or thereabouts, the medal was sent to Jamaica. To this day, she has not received her medal. And she's made numerous attempts to no avail. She's contacted the IOC, the JAAA, and others associated with athletics in Jamaica. Nobody seems to know where it is, and nobody wants to help. So I reached out to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Samuda, who's the president, I believe, of the Jamaica Olympic Committee. And he had the audacity to tell me in writing that he wasn't there when this occurred and that I should go and find a man by the name of Mr. Fennell, the past president, and talk to him and find out. I wrote him back and I made it clear to him that communications between IOC and JOC, they're communications between organizations, not between individuals. And therefore, in his position, it would be just for him to call for an investigation to find out where this woman's medal is. And if the medal cannot be found, then request a replacement medal from the IOC. He responded and made it clear that He didn't have the stomach for that. He wasn't going to do that. I should go ahead and find the past president and make an inquiry. And once I've exhausted my remedies there, then I should talk to him about getting a replacement medal, which is absolute nonsense because that's his job. So there's an injustice going on over there in the athletics realm in Jamaica, as far as Miss McDonald is concerned. She deserves her medal. She earned it. And there's no reason why 13 years later, she's still trying to find out where that medal is. That's something that she's proud of, but she doesn't have evidence of it. Even though Jamaica, when they start counting up medals, they're going to count up her medal, saying that Jamaica achieved a bronze medal in the.
If Mr. Rattigan, if it's 13 years ago, that means it fall under former Minister of Sports, Youth and Culture, Lisa Hanna.
Yeah, I think so. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to I sent her a message. I haven't gotten a response yet.
Who, Miss Hanna?
Mr. Babs the Grange. Mr. Babs.
Mr. Babs the Grange, okay.
Yeah, to intervene. And I'm sure that and I trust and I hope that she will, because this is an injustice. This is an outrage. This should have never happened. Where the medal came to Jamaica and through no fault of the athlete, she hasn't received her medal. So we need to highlight that, and we need to get the minister on the track, so to speak.
Yes.
So that we can either recover, we can either find the medal in Jamaica or request a replacement. It's that simple.
Yes. Let us switch gear now for the couple of time I have with you, because I know you have other things to go and do. Your views on what is going on with Usain Bolt. If they should reach out to you, what would you say to them?
Well, let me tell Mr. Bolt, a brethren I haven't met yet, but a Jamaican, and for that matter, I feel for him. If he's listening, tell him to call Will Rattigan at 347-896-2470. Give me a call and we'll work through this white collar matter and see where the money is. Because my belief is that that money has been transferred out of the country, or some of it has been transferred out. Some of his money has been transferred out of the country. But again, funds have been commingled there. So you can't say that it's all his money, because other people lost money as well.
Over 40 people.
Right. So the idea now is for them to get together, get some private investigators to look into the matter and find out where the money or proceeds from that money, because it may have been used to purchase land, it may have been used to purchase other things, and see if we can recover the money itself or its equivalent and convert that to cash so that these people can be reimbursed or compensated or get their money back, whatever the term is.
But it was brought to my attention, Mr. Rattigan, that the gentleman who owns the SSL, the Stock Security Limited, he is a former managing director of the collapsed Crown Eagle Bank back in the days. How is it that they can give this gentleman license again to operate another Ponzi scheme? I'll call it a Ponzi scheme. Maybe it's not a Ponzi scheme, but it looks like to me it's a Ponzi scheme, Mr. Rattigan.
Well, the question is, how could they have given him a license? I don't know what the requirements are for him to have gotten a license, but the fact that he was previously involved in a white-collar action resulting in the net loss of, untold sums to clients would give me pause to think as to whether or not he should have been given a license, even if he qualified. But the fact that he had this on his record Not sure whether he should have licensed. And then also the question is one of, given his past, his background, where was the oversight in the financial industry? And my understanding is that this has been going on for more than
a decade,
approximately 10 years, right? So where's the oversight in the financial sector? And who's responsible?
There you go. And another thing, Mr. Rattigan, how would the U.S. government get involved in this? If Usain Bolt is an American citizen, but he holds dual citizenship, and he feels as if he's not getting the justice from his Jamaican government, can he get the American government to get involved, the FBI and so forth, being a U.S. citizen? Can it work that way?
I don't know if he's a U.S. citizen. If he is,
if he is,
yeah, if he is, he can always make a complaint. He can always contact the FBI, make a complaint. But if he's not, he can still also make a complaint if there's a belief that the money is from that, and then he would have to do it. See, because in that structure, you can't say, well, the first $1 million that went out, or the first $20 million, no, that's mine, because they commingle up. Apparently, it looked at least when they were sending out the funds, it looked as if monies were commingled. So you'd have to get all 40 people, the people who suffered the losses. You'd have to get them together and have them say, okay, we want to move forward. So then they start asking questions. They hire local counsel. They try and get subpoenas issued for records. And then once they realize that the money was wire transferred out of the country, then they get the FBI involved to say, hey, wait a minute. These funds, they were wire transferred using an American bank. That will give the FBI jurisdiction. And then they can go after identifying and securing the funds, as well as assisting with criminal action against the guilty parties.
So if the money, so for instance, say that Usain Bolt wire transfer the money, his money from the United States to Jamaica, the 10 million to Jamaica, isn't that coming through a U.S. banking system?
Yes. If it's coming from the U.S., yes, it would be through a banking system, U.S. banking system, yeah.
So that means then that if it comes through the U.S. banking system and he reach out to the FBI in the United States, something can be done in a sense?
Well, the thing is, if he's sending the money from here to there, to his bank or to that particular financial institution through a U.S. bank, that won't trigger an investigation, because it's him sending his money legally to that organization.
Mm.
The jurisdiction would obtain now if you have the people in that financial institution, if they transferred funds without clients' knowledge using the American banking system to anywhere in the world. So let's say, for example, there's an officer in that organization in Jamaica, and they decide to defraud the clients, and so they start going into people's accounts without any authorization, and they're wire transferring money out. And let's say they wire transfer the money out to Switzerland, but it went through the U.S. banking system. That's when they would have jurisdiction. But go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
But for Usain Bolt to just send the money, send his money from the U.S. to Jamaica, because no crime was committed there. He's just sending money that he earned here. Go ahead.
So tell me something now. How could, say for instance, the FBI come in, how could the FBI trace the money from the SSL to, say, Germany then?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, they are blaming one individual, so she fleeced 1 point whatever billion, whatever. Not Nagasa. Information reaching me that the owner for the Security Stocks Limited, his son is a very heavy gambler in St. Lucia. So that means that some money has been wire transferred. Listen to me, Jeffrey, behave yourself, to St. Lucia and other places. We need Usain Bolt money.
Well, we need the money for all of the 40 people, you know.
Yes.
Because that Usain Bolt is more recognized than, I think, than the other 39 or 40 people. I don't know if he's 41 or if he's number 40. But yeah, I mean, you know, bank fraud was certainly committed. And then you may have had, I'm almost certain that wire fraud was committed as well. The two of them go hand in hand.
Continue talking.
The two of them go hand in hand. So I think you know, this idea about St. Lucia and the connection with the owner's son being a gambler and the possibility that money was transferred there, that's something that's worth looking into. But at the same time, there's a lot more work to be done. So we don't want to really jump the gun right away. What we're seeing is just preliminary. And based on that preliminary, I think we'll be able to do a lot more in terms of deep dive investigations to try and figure out what actually happened. And hopefully the police will be able to help. I'm being told that some of their some key members in some of their key investigative units have resigned and are in the process of resigning. And that doesn't bode well for an investigation of this type, because we don't know if they'll have the expertise to go back and deal with the issues. So what that tells me is that they're going to have to rely on their international partners, be it Scotland Yard, RCMP, the FBI, CSIS, whomever, to help and track and locate these funds or the equivalent, because the funds may have been spent to buy property, real property, personal property.
Yes.
We don't know.
Oh, Lord. So, Mr. Rattigan, isn't this having a bad image on the financial sector of Jamaica?
Yeah, and what's interesting is that the Minister of Finance, Nigel Clark, he was heralded as a genius in the financial sector. I'm not saying he had anything to do with this. I'm just saying, you know, he expounded on a financial view of Jamaica that would make it seem like Jamaica is one of the best places to do business in the world, to do banking and so on and so forth. Well, now we know that's not the case. Now we know you just have to be very, very careful where you put your money. And we haven't heard from the government as far as this is concerned. I haven't heard anything from the government regarding this. But then we haven't heard from the government about a whole lot of things. You know, we haven't heard from, and sometimes when we do hear from the government, we're getting half truths, or we're getting, you know, deflections. You know, we're being misguided. You know, a very rare is the occasion when the government comes out and tells you the full story and say, okay, this is what happened, and this is who, you know, these are the people responsible, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we're going to ensure, this is what we're going to implement to make sure it doesn't happen again. Very rare is that occasion. So they're on the back foot for a long period of time, because the scandals just keep coming. The hits, they come one after the other. You know, the beat goes on.
How long can we continue with this conversation, Professor? Can you let me know how you want to? We can wrap up our what? I'll come back on next time.
No, we can go until 12:30. I'm fine.
Okay. Then, if the money is wrapped up, say the money by properties and so forth, how can his lawyers recover it back? And another thing again, they're investigating the company, yet the company is still inoperational.
So
I don't understand that either.
No, you see, what the thing is, and this is something that we have to be mindful of.
Yes, continue talking.
That company managed a huge investment portfolio. And so what will happen now is that a complete investigation has to be done. The question is, who will be responsible for conducting this investigation? And will there be an after-action report? Also, there's also the element of privacy. Some people don't want their business to be exposed, but there's also a public interest in the matter. So this could end up in court in terms of the information being made public. And then there's the possibility that once you start looking into clients' funds, you may have to look to the source of those funds. It could be a spin-off investigation. And now you end up looking at people of influence or people of so-called influence. You start looking at ministers. You start looking at, when you start seeing some of the monies that they could have, and again, it's just speculation, in their account. The question will arise, where did this money come from? And now you start looking at proceeds of proceeds of crimes acts. You start saying, well, look, if a politician earns $2,500 a month and he's able to afford luxury cars, lavish trips, fancy homes, and he has no other source of income, where did the money come from? Right? We're gonna have to talk. That's gonna be of interest. So there's a whole lot going on. There's a whole lot more to this story than just the fact that Usain Bolt lost his money. Lots of people lost their money. It's just that because of who he is, it's getting the attention. And maybe this is what it needs, because otherwise it would be, again, one of those things where the story would be publicized for less than a week, and then you don't hear anything else because it's supplanted by another story. So that's where we are with Usain Bolt. But I'm hoping that, as far as McDonald is concerned, that she'll get her medal. Usain Bolt, he's got a ways to go before he gets back any of his money. Miss McDonald's medal. If the JOC would act appropriately, with or without the minister's insistence, then her medal could be received and provided to her in short order. But as far as Usain Bolt is concerned, with the history of him getting back his money, it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while, and then we don't even know how much of that money he's gonna get back. We don't even know, because sometimes when we see these things, people,
if he gets back any at all, Mr. Rattigan.
Right. Some people get back pennies on the dollars. In the Bernie Madoff's case, I think people were able to get back 75 cents or 80 cents on the dollar, which is remarkable. Remarkable. That just demonstrates the acuity, the strength, the experience of the trustee appointed by the court, the person who went out and whose job it was to locate these funds and bring them back into the pot and distribute them to the investors. But that's an exception. That's not the case. The case is usually it's just pennies on the dollar. If you get back anything, because a lot of times you get back zero.
As a Jamaican,
a lot of times you don't get anything. I shouldn't say you get back zero. You just don't get anything.
As a Jamaican living overseas, Mr. Rattigan, and you hear government people and telling people to come and invest back in your country, would you, based on what is going on now? You have Sagicor Bank defrauding people, defrauding people, NCB doing it. Now this financial sector doing it, this financial firm doing it, the government taking poor people money, squandering it all over the place. What is your views, and would you invest back in your country, sir?
If I have to invest in Jamaica, it wouldn't be with cold hard cash, meaning I put my money in a bank there. I mean, if it's about buying a piece of property, or buying a business, yes. But in terms of putting my money, having that much money sitting in an account, no, because the first thing is that Jamaica hasn't demonstrated to anybody that it has the capability to weed out bad actors as far as cyber crimes are concerned. It hasn't done that. And I mean, I've been telling them this for years. And what did they do? Yeah, man, we know about it. We can't deal with them. Because Jamaica is, by and large, a reactive society. They don't prepare for the future. They don't look at emerging trends. They don't look at things happening across the globe and say, wait a minute, if that's happening over there, then pretty soon it might very well be here. So let's track it and let's prepare for it. They don't do that. They wait for something to happen and then they react, which is not the way to do business in light of Vision 2030. When you start putting these things out saying, Vision 2030, we're trying to make Jamaica be seen as a place to invest, work, raise a family, live, and so on and so forth. In light of that, being reactive won't sell that plan. And you're right, this incident is going to cost, the ripple is going to be significant, because people normally think about, okay, I'm going to send some money down and I'm going to do something with it later, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to happen.
Because look at
or
this.
it's going to happen or it's not going to happen on the scale that it used to, or anticipated.
Because look at this now. In London, in the Guardian in London, in the Mirror in London, in the Miami Herald, in the New York and wherever, it just on the course of it, Usain Bolt frauded of 10 million US. And it's a shame in his own country that he worked so hard for to put on the track and field map. And he invests his retirement money. And to see that $10 million, 1.5 billion Jamaican dollars, gone like Sammy Mouth, and you don't hear nothing from nobody. All you hear that the Prime Minister is saying that he had some account at the stock and Security Limited, where he took money out of the account to purchase land in Beverly Hills to build his mansion in Beverly Hills. That's all you hear about it. You don't hear nothing from the Minister of Sports. You don't hear nothing from the Minister of Information, the Minister of Finance. Do we have a country? Who is running the country?
Well, in your absence, I was talking about whether or not they want to go down that road of investigating this incident on a comprehensive level, where they say, okay, let's look at the operations of this entity, because you may end up with an investigation that could cast a net on people who have significant amount of funds in there, and they can't prove that the funds were legal.
Mr. Rattigan, that is where I am going, and that must be, and that should happen. That is why I asked the question I asked: if the FBI getting involved, is it that politician? Because they say no, there's a politician in there, sitting member of parliament in there, who didn't call a member of parliament name, but yet the Prime Minister came out and said that he whatever money. Then the question must be asked. I personally think that there should be a thorough investigation in the entire thing, find out who have money in there, and if politicians have money in there, they need to tell us where they get the money from.
Right. Right.
If a member of parliament in Jamaica, a sitting member of parliament in Jamaica, has money in the Security Stocks Limited, SSL, to the tune of millions and millions of dollars, investigation must be held. We need to know where the money disappeared to. Go ahead, sir.
I agree with you. If they start looking into these accounts and they see that, they look at some of the names and say, wait a minute, these people here, we know these people. We know how much money they earn, because they have to make disclosures in Parliament, financial disclosures. And they say, well, wait a minute, hold on. This guy's making $2,500 US a month. Where did he get, $5 million US from to put in this account? Where did that money come? I'm just saying, for example,
right?
Where did that money come from? And now you're going to open up a can of worms. So I don't know if this investigation is going to be far-reaching. I don't know.
But if they're going to start the investigation, that's to show you, do they love the other members who lost their money? Do they love Usain Bolt, who lost his entire life savings, his entire pension, his entire old age pension? If they're going to stop and they will stop the investigation, to save their ass, they will do it.
Well, like I said before, what Usain should do is contact me, and we'll do the right thing. So, we'll get the answers to the questions, and we may even get his money back. But he needs to contact me first so we can have a discussion. And I don't want him having somebody else to contact me. He needs to contact me himself.
You hear that, Mr. Bolt? Mr. Usain Bolt, get in contact with Wilfred Rattigan. If you need his number, call Roots 96.1 FM. They will get in contact with me, and I get in contact with Mr. Rattigan for you. I'll give Mr. Rattigan number.
Right.
Mr. Usain Bolt, get in contact with Roots 96.1 FM so you can get in contact with Wilfred Rattigan. Mr. Rattigan, who is willing to help you Your money cannot go that way, sir. You work hard to put Jamaica on the map, Usain. Do not let that tell you no damn bull crap. But we'll lead an investigation.
And we have a team. We have a team of people spread across the globe, and finding money these days. It sometimes it's tedious, but it's not impossible. You know, sometimes it takes a lot of work, a lot of knocking on doors, but it's not impossible. It's not like the old days, because now you have a digital footprint. Because nobody's walking into a bank right now with, you know, $2 million in a suitcase. Those days are over. People are just wire transferring stuff. You know, somehow they're getting it wire transfer. I shouldn't say somehow. I know how some of the ways that they're doing it, but the idea of somebody walking in and saying, I'm going to open an account and here's my suitcase with $2 million. Those days are over, because you're going to have a whole bunch of red flags going up as a result of that. So we can find out where the money is, because there's a digital footprint going from that institution elsewhere.
Yes, and if your money is in the Cayman Islands, or your money in St. Lucia, or your money in the Timbuktu or Dingdekti and Limbeli, Usain Bolt, get in contact with Roots 96.1 FM. They will get in contact with me, Jeffrey Tavares, and I will give you Wilfred Rattigan number. His personal private number, I will give it to you. Usain Bolt, do not let your money go down the drain. You have worked hard for your country. Who must go prison, go prison.
I agree.
You cannot continue like this. It is now 12:33. We're going to say so long from here. Your final word, Wilfred Rattigan.
Well, you know, somebody once told me that when I was thinking about starting my radio program, and I was a bit concerned that I wouldn't have content. And so I was looking around, asking people if they would be willing to act as sources, so to speak, and provide information. And a very well-known businessman in Jamaica told me in his office that you will never have to worry about content, because Jamaica is content rich. Every day there is something going on here. He said, you never have to worry about, hey, do I have a story or not? Because you will, and you know what? He's 100% right. I haven't struggled to find a topic to talk about on a radio program or any radio program, because every day there's just something. It's a new scandal. It's a new act, new people, new this, new that. There's always something to report on, because Jamaica is really content rich. So as long as Jamaica is content rich, I will be on the airwaves, and I'll do my level best to help the poor people, because they're the ones that I'm mostly concerned about. So thank you for having me. I look forward to joining you next week.
Yes, thank you very much. The number to call Usain Bolt, anybody who know Mr. Bolt, tell him to get in contact with Roots 96.1 FM. When the phone answered, just say, I would love to get in contact with Jeffrey Tavares. Tell him who you are. The number to call for Roots 96.1 FM is 876-574-0291. That's 574-0291. That's 876-574-0291. Call down there, speak to the person who's going to answer the phone. Her name is Miss Carol Taylor. Tell her you want to get in contact with Jeffrey Tavares. She will give you my number, and I will give you Mr. Wilfred Rattigan number, who can trace your money. There's a thing they call the dark web. Usain. Anyway, we're not going no further. This is where I say thank you all. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please like, share, and subscribe. Anybody who's watching this video, this live feed, and know Mr. Usain Bolt, tell him to call Roots 96.1 FM, 876-574-0291. Tell them who you are. Tell them that you want to get in contact with Jeffrey Tavares. When you get in contact with me, I will give you Wilfred Rattigan number. We need to trace where your money gone. This way I say so long from here until you hear my voice again. Like, share, and subscribe. Mr. Rattigan, thank you for coming on, sir. All the best.
My pleasure, my brother. We'll talk soon.